Welcome to How to Cook That. I'm Ann Reardon and today we're making these beautiful filled chocolate blocks using simple things that you have at home. We've got s'mores, rosemary and almond, orange caramel and coffee caramel. To make the s'mores block you'll need chocolate and it needs to be tempered, marshmallows, graham crackers and something to make your blocks in. Now you can buy expensive chocolate molds or you can just use something that you already have at home like this container lid which has quite nice rounded corners and a bit of a line around it. That might make it a bit tricky to get it out, but we'll see how we go. Pour your tempered chocolate into the container. Now I have a video called Chocolate Secrets that shows you how to temper chocolate at home in all different ways, and I'll put that video and all the recipe quantities on the howtocookthat.net website for you, and I'll link to that below. Make sure your chocolate is covering all of the edges and then flip it over and let the excess drip out onto some baking paper. By doing this you get left with just a thin lining of chocolate all the way around the outside. Smooth along the top edges using a spatula and then add in some graham crackers cut to size so that they fit in there roughly. You want to do this before the chocolate sets so that the cracker is actually stuck to the chocolate. Place your marshmallows in a bowl and microwave them on high for about 30 seconds until they're melted, and then just put a spoonful on there and spread it out over the crackers so that you get a nice layer of marshmallow. Now you can make this as thick as you like, it just depends how thick your container is. Pour more chocolate over the top and then gently tap it to get rid of any air bubbles. Then use your spatula to flatten the top edge using the top of your container as your guide. Once it is set, flip over the container and tip it out of your mould. To make the rosemary and almond block, you'll need salt, water, fresh rosemary, cream, white chocolate, oil and ground almonds. Place the fresh rosemary in the oil and then heat that oil up just to release that rosemary flavour, and give it a stir and then leave it for about 15 minutes for the flavour to really infuse. Tip the salt into the water and heat that up just to dissolve the salt crystals. Place the chocolate, salty water and the cream into a bowl and heat that in the microwave for 30 seconds and then stir it really well because microwaves heat unevenly, and if you don't stir it it's going to burn in one spot. Keep heating it and stirring until it's completely melted. Strain the rosemary oil through a sieve and add the almond meal on top of that. Now stir that really well, and you can see here the almond meal gives it a bit of a grainy texture. If you want it to be smoother, you can just blitz it with a stick mixer. And if you have one of those, you can also add in the sprigs of rosemary for a stronger flavour. If you're not going to blitz it like this, then you can just add way more rosemary into the oil so you get that sort of stronger flavour just from the infusion. Tip your tempered chocolate into the container and spread it out, and then flip it over just like we did before. If you have a professional mould, you can use that. They're a bit easier to use because they have a flat top all the way around the edge, so you can easily scrape the extra chocolate into the bowl. And once the base is set, you just use a piping bag to fill each cavity in your block. And I'm excited to announce the launch of my very own limited edition line of nail wraps in collaboration with Jamboree. I've been keeping this a secret from you for quite a while during the design process, so it's good to finally tell you. These cute ones are called Sprinkled Love, and there are several different wraps in the How to Cook That range, and I'll link you to those below. I've also added an embellishment to this one. You can get those online there too. Spread the filling out to flatten it so it's not above the top of the mould. If you're using a container, then just pipe a layer of the filling into the mould, making sure you don't get it up on the sides. Top that with more tempered chocolate and smooth off the top using a spatula. And then once that's set, yes, that's right, just tip it out of the container. Now we want to make that look different from the s'mores one or we won't know what's inside it. So take some white chocolate and drizzle it back and forth over the top. To make the yummy coffee caramel filling, you need sugar, butter, water, cream, glucose syrup and ground coffee. Add the water to the sugar and the cream into the coffee. And then tip in the glucose syrup to the coffee too. Now you can use corn syrup here if you don't have glucose syrup where you live. Heat that up in the microwave to make it hot. Just give it a stir and leave that to one side. And then heat the sugar and water over high heat. Once it's boiling, wash down the sides of the pan using a wet pastry brush to get off any sugar crystals. And then once it's browned and bubbling, add in the butter and stir it well, and then remove that from the heat. Strain the coffee through a fine cheesecloth, squeezing it to get out lots of that flavour. Now, if you'd rather, you can use instant coffee, and this caramel is quite strong and a little bit bitter, but once it's in with the sweet chocolate, it balances out well. Stir those together and then test the thickness of your caramel by putting a small amount of it onto a cold surface. And see how this one's setting very firm straight away. I want it a bit thinner than that, so I'm just going to add in a bit more cream to the caramel and stir it through. And then just test it again, put a bit more on the counter and have a look at the consistency of it, and keep doing that until you are happy with it. For this one, I'm using a chocolate transfer sheet to add some colour. Now these are just coloured cocoa butter patterns on some acetate, and when you pour on the chocolate, the cocoa butter melts onto the warm chocolate, and then when it sets, it will be in the chocolate. And this time I'm using dark chocolate. If you want, you can use milk or white. That's totally fine. You can use what you like. Spread it out. Now I don't want to tip this one upside down because I don't want the transfer sheet to come out, so I'm just spreading it up the sides. And then press down your caramel between some baking paper. And you want to try and make a square shape the right size for our chocolate block. Then just pick it up and gently add it onto your chocolate and top it with more tempered chocolate over the top. And then just tap it to get rid of any air bubbles that you've got in there. Once it is set, tip it out, and then you just peel off that acetate sheet, and the coloured cocoa butter is now part of our chocolate block. For the delicious orange caramel block, you need sugar, 1 orange, white chocolate, cream, and water. Grate the rind from the orange. Now when you do this, you just want a thin layer of the orange coloured part. You don't want any white in it or it will not taste nice. Add that into your cream and stir it around and heat it until it nearly boils, and then leave that for the flavour of the orange rind to infuse into the cream. In a pan, heat the sugar and the glucose syrup until it just starts to go brown. Strain the cream through a sieve to get rid of that rind, so we've just got the flavoured cream going through, and then add in the juice from half of your orange and stir that well. Mix in your white chocolate, stirring until it's all melted, and then place some of that on the counter to check the consistency just like we did before. This one is quite a soft filling and I'm happy with that consistency, so I'm not adding any more to it. I have a pretty striped transfer sheet that I'm going to use for this one. Just spread the chocolate out along the base and up the sides, and once that's set, pipe in a layer of your soft orange caramel filling across the centre. Then top that off with more chocolate to seal it in. If you don't have a spatula, you can just use the back of a knife to smooth off the top edge. And then once that is set, tip it out and just peel off that acetate. And there you have 4 handmade blocks of chocolate, which are great for gifts and absolutely delicious. If you liked this video, it would mean a lot to me if you could share it with your friends. Subscribe to How to Cook That for more cakes, chocolates and desserts. And if you'd like to become a VIP member, just click on the VIP button, or I'll put a link to that below, and you get early access to my videos when they go up on a Friday. Champions of the week goes to Sandy, who made the hamburger and shoe cake, Janine made the teddy bear cake, and Aniko made the rock candy geodes. They all look fantastic, and when you make something, you can upload a picture in the comment section of the website for me to see. I love seeing what you create. Remember to check out the nail wraps below. Make it a great week, and I'll see you on Friday.